Lions and lionesses, listen closely. The limiting beliefs of superachievers. One, which you've all heard, because I think everyone has actually expressed this to me, and I used to do it all the time, is I'm either all in or all out. That equals 2 steps forward and 2 or more steps back. So in the long run, there is no progress. The way you do everything, the way you do anything, is the way you do everything. You must be 100% responsible for everything that occurs in your life. Victory lies in doing the little things that aren't that sexy, but doing them consistently and relentlessly. That's what leads to massive results over time, the habits. Your body is a reflection of your daily decisions and habits. What challenges you changes you, for better or worse. Let that sink in. When we talk about lambs and lions, what we're talking about is lamb is when you're in fear-based emotion. A lion is when you're in love-based emotion. Making decisions from fear leads to destructive behavior. This is where self-sabotage comes in, when we're judging ourselves, not forgiving ourselves or others. Love-based emotions is we're doing things out of inspiration because we're guided, we're led, we're driven towards it. And it feels good when we do it. It's not a constrictive feeling, it's an expansive feeling. So let's go back and talk about these things. This is often a subject where people don't want to hear it because it's the truth. And it requires us to own it. And there are 3 prerequisites to victory, to success, to whatever you want to achieve. I don't care who you are, there are always the 3 same things. The first one is self-awareness. You don't know what you don't know. So I'm sure you guys have heard this before. You're advanced, you have beliefs that you understand, you have this belief that you can create your world. You can create your reality through the way you think, the way you feel, and the actions you take, the decisions you make, right? So what does this all mean? What do we have to do? Well, we need self-awareness. We need to know what the truth is. And it's very difficult nowadays with information. And that's what I do. I do all that work to give you a plan that's effective. And that's 20% of it, according to Tony Robbins, right? 20% mechanics or the strategy, 80% is psychology. And I would agree with that. Once you have an effective plan, it's tough getting an effective plan, but once you have one, you have to have a mindset to carry it through. And the ball is in your court on this one, my friend, but I'm here to help you as much as I can. But ultimately, the responsibility lies with you. But the first step is self-awareness. And that's why I do these audios for you. And I teach little stuff. And then those are the little things that lead to massive results. So after you have self-awareness, the next thing is self-honesty. Sometimes people see the truth. They discover the truth, but they create a story, a narrative. They get creative and they make excuses. They'll call them reasons though, or this is why. Let me tell you a story. My culture is this. Like I had a client tell me he's from Italy, and so he has to eat pasta and have wine every night. Well, you don't have to have a pound of pasta, and you don't have to have a bottle of wine every night. That's absurd. And plus, there is no genetic evidence that you have to do that. That you have a belief that's what you do because that's who you are. You're not your culture. You're not where you're from. If you go back through where you're actually from, you'll find out. I do DNA tests, like thousands of these things. Everyone ends up being about from the same place. That's the truth of it. So let's just be honest about this. And let's just say whatever story you have is an excuse. It's a limitation. If you have a heartbeat and you breathe and you can move, you can transform your body. You can increase your health, your fitness, your energy, vitality. But it comes down to what you do, and you have to own it. And that's the third thing. So once you have self-awareness, once you are honest with yourself about it, then 100% personal responsibility. You have no power to change your life until you take responsibility, until you absolutely own everything. And people, well, it wasn't my fault this person did it. Well, what were you doing associating with that person, right? Now, there are some situations where maybe I couldn't figure out how that could be your responsibility. Maybe it's from a past life and it was karmic debt or something like that. But there's no way of proving those things. So what do you do then? It doesn't matter. If you want to be the victim, then give the power to someone else. Don't take responsibility. The only way when people go through traumatic things, and I've talked to some people and I met some people and I know people that have gone through really terrible things. I won't even bring it up here because it'll just dampen the mood. But the most incredible thing is this one woman, like her neighbors tried to kill her, like all her people that she grew up with, just because she had different beliefs than them. And they killed her whole family, and they thought she was dead, and she came back to life. She woke up and then escaped and went through a million other things. But, I was like, well, how did you get through that? She goes, I knew God kept me alive for a reason, and it was to tell this story and to help others and prevent this from ever happening again. And that's like the same work as Viktor Frankl from Man's Search for Meaning. Like, you should all read that book, because that book will put life in perspective of what that man went through and how he survived and how other people did not survive, the psychology of it. And so you have to take 100% responsibility. If you're not willing to do that, then you're going to be a victim in every aspect of your life, whether it's relationships or finances or your health and fitness or your business, whatever it is, it always comes down to these three things. And so once you have those three things, what do? Well, the problem with this philosophy of the achiever is why achievers are usually successful in one or two areas of life, but not all of them. They usually really suck at some other ones. Is why? Well, it's because they're looking for the celebration. They're looking for the big achievement. They're focused on the outcome. They're not focused on the journey. And so the way you become successful is when you focus on the process. You focus on doing the little things each day. It is the little things done consistently and relentlessly that lead to massive results over time. Like drinking enough water you stay, training each morning, challenge yourself when you train, learning to enjoy challenging yourself. That starts to carry over things. Eating food as fuel, not to deal with stress. Most people are stress eaters. When something goes great, they celebrate, right? With food or alcohol. And then when things go bad, what do? They comfort themselves with food or alcohol or something like that. So the way you deal with stress, the way you deal with fear will determine, the way you deal with pleasure and fear will determine where you're at in your life. Because what is the truth? Your body, my body, your body is a reflection of your daily decisions and where you live emotionally. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Now, a lot of times achievers are really hard on themselves, and that's what drives them to want more, to go learn and to create and do these things, but they tend to not take care of themselves very well. And I went through this, and I would put everyone before me, and then I started getting out of shape. And I wasn't loving workouts. And then my whole philosophy changed, my whole life changed when I said, hey, my goal isn't to achieve these things. I don't not make $10 million and stuff. That's going to be great. I'll do that. But that can't be my focus. My focus is, and this is in 2008. I remember it very clearly because I was going through a really tough time. And what happened is I said, you know what? I'm writing down my goals every year. I have like my RPM planner. And I said, you know what? My only goal this year is to live in a positive emotional state because I'm suffering over here. I'm so hard on myself. And I didn't know it at the time. But that is the most common pattern with achievers. You're like, I have to be perfect. The word perfect, which is not a standard because you can't be perfect. Because if you ask 10 people what perfection is, you'll get at least 10 different answers. And often they can't answer at all. But if your goal and your purpose in life is to live in love-based emotion, that is what I call living like a lion. Because from there, everything unfolds before you. Because in love-based emotion, love is the highest energy. That may also be called courage. That could be called determination. That could be called inspiration. That could be called a willingness. Just the energy of that, just the feeling of that will cause you to take certain actions. And let's just go back to the basics of psychology. What you think about, what you say, the way you move your body will create your emotional state. What you focus on will help create that emotional state. It's a combination of those things. And from the way you feel will cause you to make some decisions. And those decisions lead to actions or inactions. And then all those actions and actions are where you're at. And that's where your body is right now. That's where your health is. That's where your business is. That's where your relationships is. And it all comes down to the same thing. And so what do we do with this? That's the question. It comes down to having a different vision for yourself. Because the things that challenge us in life change us. What do I mean by that? And this is for better or worse. So say something great happens and you're like, oh, this is great. What am I going to do now? A lot of times, like I had a client, a young guy, he got a baseball contract, never made money. He's from the Dominican Republic. And he spent all his money like in less than a month. And he didn't know. It challenged him. Now he is one of the most financially literate, financially genius people I've ever met. And he actually helps other athletes going through the same thing to prevent that. So that was a beautiful thing. But it challenged him and it changed him for the better. Now I've had a football player that would make $8.8 million a year, not including bonuses, and he would spend $8.8 million and the bonuses every year. And so when he stopped playing, it was really tough time for him. He had to reinvent himself and learn how to start a business and be successful in business. So what challenges always changes, for better or worse, and that's up to you, not up to anybody else. Because if you take responsibility for it, you can create whatever the hell you want. Because I just told you, your thoughts, the way you use your body, your focus, the things you say, the way you move your body. If you wake up every morning and train and put yourself in state, that's a different world than if you wake up in the morning, train, and you bitch and moan and complain, and you're stressed out about what you have to do that day. There's two different worlds. The results are exponentially different. So what is the real goal of this? Well, you have to become aware of, like, hey, am I one of those people that say I'm all in, all out? Because I was one of those people. And I realized, like, hey, I have some clients that are really successful with their bodies, like they're professionals, right? They compete in these things and they're elite. And the one that trained over 45, Mr. America, his name's Cliff Goodrow, and he was just 80%, 90% all the time because he did it to feel good. That was his purpose. That was literally it. He was just like, hey, I just want to feel good. The side effect is, oh, hey, I'm Mr. America. How cool is that? Right? But it wasn't like a thing. It wasn't egoic at all. It was just who he was. That was his identity as a human. And so all in, all out, that is a belief about perfection. I have to be perfect in order to be worthy, in order to be good enough. And if I'm not worthy, not good enough, I don't deserve anything. And that is one of the most common things. That is conditioning from since we are children in pretty much every culture. And so what do we do with this? Well, the lion and the lamb. What does that mean? Well, if you keep going if you're always in fear, fear-based emotions will lead to fear-based decisions. Fear-based decisions will create poor or destructive behaviors, actions. And so if you make a decision out of fear, like I had a client that got married, and I was like, well, I could tell you didn't want to get married. I was like, why you get married? And he goes, because I don't want to be alone. I'm like, you're not even 30 years old, man. You got some time. But that's what he did. It didn't go well, obviously. But it doesn't even matter. It was the point of the story is fear-based emotion leads to fear-based actions. And those lead to self-sabotage, to destructive actions, not just to you, but to the other person. He married somebody that didn't deserve that either because, he wasn't owning it. He created a really interesting story, a very creative story of why he should get married. But he didn't communicate that to anybody else. And so what I'm saying is I don't want you to live like that. I don't want you to suffer. And we use training and nutrition as a gateway to living greatly. What is living greatly? It's living like a lion or lioness. That's living in love-based emotion. Love is the highest vibrational frequency in the universe. And these things are actually measurable. And so I won't go into it, but in the future, I will do this. I'll show you the science behind this. And it's what convinced me, because I'm a scientist at heart. And then science has limitations. There's a lot of rules. And there's really not a lot of answers in science, but it's a way to arrive at better answers. So there are no such thing as really facts in a lot of ways. There are laws of nature, universal laws, that once discovered, you can predict and anticipate what's going to happen. And so if you want to hear more about that stuff, just leave me a message after this and let me know what parts of this are interesting to you and what you'd like to go deeper in. But the whole goal is this: live in love-based emotion. How do you do it? The way you move your body. Wake up and intend to say, hey, I'm going to train. I'm going to challenge myself, but I'm not going to suffer. I'm going to teach myself to enjoy it. And then as I do that, with every breath I take, every rep I take, that is linking up my nervous system in a way that eventually, over time, I will love this shit. But what will happen? Well, when I love this shit, when I voluntarily wake up and step in discomfort with a smile on my face, it carries over into every other area of your life. Like, I'm a bad motherfucker. Like, shit can go down and I'm good. I do all kinds of cool stuff that most people would consider dangerous to help people, but I can do it because of this training. But I did it wrong for the majority of my life. But once you know how to do it correctly, the results come quickly. But because it's the little things done consistently and relentlessly that lead to massive results over time. But it's a side effect. The purpose of it is to live in love-based emotion as that lion, as that lioness, and identify when you're in the lamb, the fear-based emotion, and just say like, and don't judge yourself about it. So what do you do? So you're like, I notice like, I'll get mad driving, like someone, flip me off or something. I'll be like, oh, I want to kill them. And I'm like, that's excessive. And it makes me laugh because I'm like, why would I kill someone? You know what I mean? It's like an 82-year-old grandma. I was like, that is insane to me. I'm like, well, that's that lamb. That's fear-based emotion. That's what it does. That's the ego. That's what it does. And then I just let it go. I don't judge myself about it. That's part of being human. We all have some human in us, no matter who it is. But what we got to do is identify it and just calibrate ourselves again. Say, where do I want to be? Well, my goal and my intention is to live in love-based emotion so that I live a life of no regret, so that I can serve at my highest level. And that's what it's really about, my friends. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. This is the lesson for this week. And I know I'm reminding you of things you already know, but that's what I'm here for. It's when we live it wholly, completely, with all we got, with every fiber of our being, when it's real. That's when it's real. All right, my friends, have a great day. Thank you.
You tap into the real you, but you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.